For this evening's meeting. We welcome you to the Bay Model and thank the Bay Model for hosting us this evening and again hosting us next Wednesday as well. So I'm going to go over a few housekeeping items and then talk about the flow of tonight's meeting, and then I'll be passing things over to Superintendent Leonards for the formal presentation. Immediately following the presentation will be a Q&A period, and you'll have another opportunity to return to the information tables before the end of the evening to get more information. So again, thank you for joining us this evening to hear more about the proposed rule for dog management in the Golden Gate National Recreation Area. So the flow of tonight's meeting, we're going to do a 15-minute presentation from Superintendent Leonards. After that, we're going to go into a question and answer period, and I'll explain how we're going to be collecting questions throughout the evening when we get to that point. So a couple of housekeeping: if you haven't already found the restrooms, you go back out the door you came in and immediately outside. And if you can't find them, please find an NPS staff member. They'd be happy to assist you. In the event of an emergency, we ask that you re-exit out the door that you came in. All right, thank you so much, and I'd like to now pass things over to Superintendent Leonards for the formal presentation.
Thanks very much. Hey, I think I remember some of you from last night. Welcome back. Glad to have you here, and I'm going to start the same way. I know more now about this because we did it together last night. Two things. First, how wonderful is it that we can express our opinions? In America, it is one of the key ingredients to why this democracy lasts, and it's really important to be able to do that. Second thing is, I really appreciate the fact that you all are doing it in a way that's not disruptive, and it's really important, and I respect that, and I appreciate that. All of us from the National Park Service do. I would ask you, just to be sure, there are people behind you, and if someone is unable to see, just please be sensitive to that. Okay, thanks. So also, just thanks to everyone. Thank you for taking the time to be here. We know that you may be on your way home from work, you may have just had dinner, or maybe you haven't had dinner yet. And so we appreciate the fact that you're here and you want to participate in this process. October of last year, one of the things that we did as we started to think about public meetings for the proposed rule for dog management is we invited some leaders of stakeholder groups to come in and talk to us about what kind of public meeting can be most effective for these kinds of opportunities. We were intending to do an open house and have people have the opportunity to talk station to station. And all of the 6 stakeholders that came in said, let's make sure there's an opportunity for people to ask questions out loud in front of the group so we can hear what those questions are. So we adopted that. We're going to ask you to stay within the constraints that we've agreed to for this meeting. We'll do it for 1 hour. We'll make sure there is a full hour of that. Afterwards, we're going to invite you to go back to the stations, and I will continue a station up here. So if you have additional questions for me, we've got some room up here, and I will be happy to answer any and all questions that you have. The folks I'd like to thank for that, the groups that came in and worked with us: Save Our Recreation, the National Parks Conservation Association, Chrissy Field Dog Group, Sierra Club, Montara Dog, and People for Parks. And let me just start by saying, we recognize from the National Park Service perspective that people have very strong feelings around this. We know that people feel like there is some loss involved for some of you in this, and we want to make sure that the microphone is really loud. Is that too loud? Is everybody okay? Okay. So, okay, thank you. Let us know. So we want to make sure that we are sensitive to that, and we want to make sure that we get the best understanding from you all that we can, and recognize that there are strong feelings on all sides, some of which will not be expressed tonight because people are afraid to speak either in a public forum or in a public forum that has a strong, specific point of view. So just if we can recognize that. And just kind of on a last note, we're all responsible for creating the kind of society that we have. And we see in some public meetings these days that it's a difficult road. So just please help us create that society together that we want to have here. Okay, the proposed rule for dog management. Next slide, please. We're going to spend a minute or two going over the meeting objectives. How many folks have been involved in this issue for years? Okay. How many folks are new to this issue and we haven't been at public meetings before? Okay, great. Well, we're glad both groups of you are here. As we go through the presentation, there are some things that are kind of long in history, so please bear with me when we go through that timeline and recognize some of you who've actually lived through that and maybe a repeat for you. We had an exhibit, an art exhibit out at Alcatraz last year, the Chinese dissident Ai Weiwei. And one of the things that he said is liberty is the right to question everything. So our purpose tonight really is to make sure we're available to answer questions for you, do the best job that we can, that we're here to help you understand how to comment. The process is different, and I'll go over that in just a minute. Providing an opportunity for public comment happens in different ways depending on what kind of process you're using. A draft EIS and supplemental EIS that we put together over the course of the last several years, the public meetings were meant to allow people the opportunity to come and provide public comment actually right there at the meeting. The meetings we're having this week and next are about finding out more about the rule. They're really public information meetings. Because this is a federal regulation that will be promulgated, the Office of Management and Budget provides the guidance for us on how to collect comments. And there are only two ways to collect comments this year, on this part of the process. One is to get on regulations.gov, the website, and provide comments. The second is to send me a letter as superintendent of GGNRA. Next slide. So we're going to spend a minute here just looking at some of the recreational activities that go on at GGNRA. We know that people are very passionate about their connection with Golden Gate National Recreation Area, and I just want to do a brief overview. We're one of 410 national park units across the United States. Golden Gate National Recreation Area was created in 1972, and every unit in the National Park Service shares the same mission. The mission is twofold. First, to protect and preserve our resources for generations to come, and second, to provide enjoyment for the benefit of the people. So that's the twofold mission. At GGNRA, we get those things both in spades. We get 18 million visitors a year to the GGNRA, and we have significant natural resources as well as cultural resources. GGNRA is one of the most diverse ecosystems in the lower 48. There are 1,200 plant and animal species. There are 37 which are rare, threatened, or endangered. So as you can see, it gives us a lot of opportunity to protect both resources and also provide visitor experience. Some information, a visitor profile. As you saw here, dozens of recreational activities happen in the GGNRA. We've done an economic analysis as part of the rulemaking, and we found through the analysis and information about 10 to 12% of visits to the GGNRA include dogs. About 10 to 12% of visits include dogs. Now, part of what we do in that context with other recreational uses, straight from the law that created GGNRA, that we're meant to preserve the outstanding natural, historic, scenic, and recreational values. And the Congress and President noted very specifically, recreational open space is necessary to the urban environment. Next slide. Well, why does the park need a rule? Why do we need a special rule? There already is a nationwide regulation that governs pets in national parks. 410 units of the National Park Service follow that rule. GGNRA, as you know, was created not from whole cloth like Wyoming before there was statehood in Yellowstone, but really was from lands that were already used by people, whether it was City and County of San Francisco, lands in Marin, or in San Mateo. And many of those lands already had the opportunity for people to walk dogs. So what we're doing is creating a regulation that will be specific only to Golden Gate National Recreation Area, because we believe we should allow dogs, embrace dogs, and allow dogs off leash. The general rule that applies to all the national parks does not allow dog walking off leash in any of those units. We want to go that extra step and make sure that's available in GGNRA. I would ask you to help us create the kind of society we want to have for this meeting, and we will have 1 hour for questions. Thank you. Next slide. The dog management planning process has been going on for a long, long time. 1979 to today, 37 years. Part of what we really hope for at the end of this timeline, at the end of this year, is certainty. We've heard from a lot of people that the uncertainty that's been associated with that 2 generations has been difficult to live with, has been difficult to understand. A couple of specific points that I want to make on the chart. And I know it's difficult to see, and I apologize for that. We can get you copies of this. We'll have it on our website. 1979 is at the upper left-hand corner. That's when the first pet policy was created. And it was not an official rule. Part of why we're going through rulemaking today is that was not an official rule, but it is a policy that's been implemented by the park since that time. 2002 to 2006. In this time period, there was an evaluation of dog walking in the national parks in GGNRA, and a part of that process was, what should we do here? Should we just adopt the nationwide rule? Well, the decision at that time by the superintendent was no, we need to do something different than that. So the first step was to create a negotiated rulemaking process. Negotiated rulemaking means you work with stakeholders from a wide array of groups, and you try to reach consensus on what that rule will be, how that park or recreation area will be governed. That group met for over 18 months and was not able to find consensus. It was not able to find common ground. And that left the rulemaking to the National Park Service itself. So because the communities at the time were not able to find agreement, it means the National Park Service goes through a process of what's called notice and comment rulemaking. We also, as a part of rulemaking, have to analyze the environmental impacts as a result of having a new rule. Many of you have probably commented on the draft EIS and the supplemental EIS. The comments on the supplemental EIS were posted to our website about 6 weeks ago. Those comments are a part of what will go into the process as we collect comments from this as well and help us get in sync so we're doing the final EIS and the final rule at the same time. And I just want to make sure folks know no decision has been made yet. No decision has been made yet. Next slide, please. So what's in the proposed rule? The good news, it's only 14 pages long. So hopefully you've been able to access it on the website. If not, we have copies here. It translates the preferred alternative to on-the-ground rules. It says if we took the preferred alternative and we actually turned it into a regulation, this is what it would look like on the ground. Comments will be taken for 90 days. The comment period opened on February 24th, and it will close on May 25th. So there are some changes from the supplemental EIS to the proposed rule, and I just want to go over those very quickly. The maximum number of dogs has been set at 6, which is consistent with all the jurisdictions around the park, save the city and county of San Francisco, which allows 8. Christie Field and Upper Fort Funston have had some adjustments in terms of where we would allow dogs off leash. We've added 4 trails in Rancho Corral de Tierra where dogs will be allowed. We have removed 1 trail at Fort Baker where dogs were allowed or were going to be allowed. We've clarified the definitions for things like voice and sight control. And we've changed some things in what's called the monitoring and management plan. That's how we'll evaluate compliance with the rule and how we'll respond to issues that we think could create harmful situations or be out of compliance with the rule. Next slide. Where would dogs be allowed? It says here 22 different locations in GGNRA will allow dogs. 31% of the miles of beach in the GGNRA will allow dogs, and most of that dogs on leash. 34% of the trail miles will allow dogs, and we'll have off-leash